Great. Hi, everybody. As Rich mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about the status of white bass in Lake Erie. So we're talking about white bass because first, they're an important recreational fishery to Lake Erie, especially in the spring when they're undergoing their spring spawning migration runs into the tributaries of Lake Erie. Some of the major tributaries are the Detroit, Maumee, and Sandusky rivers, where these fish are found in large numbers, and every year thousands of individuals are harvested each year by anglers, so it's a pretty big fishery. The open water fishery in Lake Erie for white bass is much smaller, but still present. There's also a large white bass commercial fishery in both Canada and the US. This is not a quota species, and in Ontario they're primarily harvested with gill nets, and in Ohio and Michigan they're primarily harvested with trap nets. The Ontario fishery is worth last year was worth approximately 2.7 million. So it's a pretty big fishery for Lake Erie. So I'm just first going to give you a quick summary of white bass for 2017-2018 based on some of the fisheries independent and dependent data that we've collected. So the recruitment index, or age zero abundance in the West Basin of Lake Erie, was up relative to 2016-2017, about 145%. So relative to the long-term trend for the data, this is about the 79th percentile, so we're seeing pretty good recruitment. The relative abundance of all age classes, so 0 to 7 plus, and this is from our partnership gillnet index, is up also from last year, about 56%, and this represents about the 39th percentile for the long-term data set. So it's kind of weak moderate, but it's still in pretty good shape. The commercial fishery, this is for Ontario gill netting, and the catch effort and the catch per unit effort is all down relative to 2016-2017. However, for the long-term trends, this is all right around the median value or just below. So in general, the status is still pretty good there. So now I'm just going to show you some of the data behind this status. So the first graph I'm going to show you is age zero, or young of the year white bass captured in the West Basin interagency trawl. So this is a program run with Ohio and Ontario using bottom trawls in the West Basin. So on the y-axis, you see the number of fish captured per hectare. So this is a combination of Ohio and Ontario data. From 1988 to 2017. The solid black line represents the median for the time series, and the dotted lines represent the 25th and 75th percentiles. So for 2017, you'll see that we caught about 247.6 age year white bass per hectare, which if you look at the long-term trend is quite high relative to that and even above the 75th percentile, so we're doing pretty good. This is up from a low that we saw in 2014 for age zero fish. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit of, this is a graph from white bass captured in the partnership gillnet index. So this is run across the Ontario side of Lake Erie, but this is data primarily from the central and western basins because this is where we see most white bass. So this gillnet index has mesh sizes ranging from 1 1/4 inch to 6 inch, so it catches a pretty wide range of individuals. The y-axis has the number of fish caught per gillnet from 1989 to 2017. And same as last graph, the solid line represents the median for the time series, and then we have the 25th and 75th percentiles. So we see in 2017, we caught about 5.5 white bass per gillnet, and this represents around the median value, so we're doing pretty good there. And this is down from the highs we experienced in 2011 and 2013 for white bass, but we're still doing pretty good. So now I'm going to show you the catch by length interval from the partnership gillnet index. So on the Y, you see the number of fish caught per gillnet, and along the x-axis, you see 1 centimeter length intervals for fish. And each bar you see there represents the number of fish for that particular size class caught per gillnet. So you'll see 2 years here. The solid black line is from 2016, and the bars represent 2017. So in 2016, you see the first, you'll see it's bimodal, so the first hump there at between 10 and 20 centimeters represents mostly age 0 fish with some age 1 fish. So we see quite a large catch there. And then the next mode you see is between 30 and 40 centimeters in 2016. That's age 2 plus fish. But you see in 2017, those age zeros from 2016 have now progressed, and they're now quite large catch rates for age 1s, which you'll find between 20 and 30 centimeters there. And then you also see still a large cohort of age 2 plus fish. So you see a big group of age 1s moving along here. So now the performance of the commercial gillnet fishery. So the top graph you'll see is harvest in thousands of kilograms from 1986 to 2017. And in 2017, about 1.2 million kilograms of white bass were harvested in Lake Erie, so quite a bit. But long term, that's about average. The effort on the bottom graph is the effort in thousands of kilometers of gillnet. This is just a large mesh effort for any large mesh gillnet effort that captured white bass. So from 1886 to 2017, and in 2017, about 20,000 kilometers of gillnet. So quite a bit of gillnet out there. But about average for the long term. So now we have the Ontario commercial catch per unit effort. So this is the kilograms of white bass caught per kilometer of gillnet from 86 to 2017. And the lines represent the same as the previous graphs. And you'll see that in 2017, we're about 59.6 kilograms per kilometer of gillnet caught for white bass, which is pretty close to median value. So in general, we're sitting about average long term. So now we're going to look at the age composition of the Ontario commercial catch from 86 to 2017. So we have the number harvested on the y-axis. And for each bar, you'll see different colors, and each color represents a different age class. So you'll see from 86 to 2016, the majority of the commercial catch is composed of age 2 to 4 fish for the most part. However, in 2017, it's kind of interesting in that we see that most of the catch is age 5 and age 7 plus individuals. And these are individuals represented by the 2010 and 2012 year classes. They were pretty big recruitment years that have been supporting the fishery up to and including now. Though we see an older composition for the fishery, since we're seeing a lot of age 1s in the lake, they should be moving into the fishery come 2018, 2019. We also had a pretty strong recruitment year this year. So just to summarize and go back to the summary of white bass status, recruitment and relative abundance index from our fisheries independent surveys are up. And for the commercial fishery, though, we're seeing slight downward trends overall for the long term. They're still at pretty good status. So overall, white bass seem to be doing quite well in Lake Erie. And with that, that's it for me. Thank you.